Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Islam in Life with me, Raza Kazim. The role of the Muslim individual within a community, be it a geographical community or, as per the focus of this program, be it a religious community, is an important part of the Muslim identity. But how does the community influence the individual? And when we say community, it in itself is made up of individuals and not one monolithic block. So how can the individual be necessarily motivated by the community?
Muslims have a strong sense of communities, and this is especially true of Muslims in the West. Having originated from different countries with different cultural and religious outlook to many aspects of daily life, Western Muslims tend to look at their mosques and centers as the most important influencing factor in maintaining links to their roots. Because of this great importance placed on these institutions and communities, how can these communities evolve in this modern era in motivating their members towards a more fuller and positive approach to life? How important are these communities, and how influential are they truly in directing the course and attitudes of individuals? How can these communities collectively motivate the Muslim Ummah towards more positive actions? How can they inculcate the basic Islamic tenets in their members, such as the values of caring about others, while at the same time maintaining an ambitious and positive attitude towards life? How do they address the challenges of negative attitudes, narrow-mindedness, and laziness, and turn them into a more positive participation by Muslims in their environments?
We're honored to be joined by our esteemed guest, Professor Tariq Ramadan, to discuss all of these issues. Welcome to the program, Professor.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. I want to start off by asking, to what extent are the individuals valued by these community centers that were being talked about?
That's a good question from an Islamic perspective, because very often, and it's not only something that we are talking about from within, the perception around the world is that when you speak about Islam and Muslims, we are speaking about communities, we are not speaking about individuals. While at the same time, when you come back to the Quran, the very understanding of your journey towards God is وَكُلُّهُمْ أَتِيهِمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ فَرْدًا, that one day you are going to be alone. So you have to deal with your own self as an individual and understanding the very meaning of spiritual loneliness. But there is a connection here, and the community is very important at many levels. First, we are a community being, so we have been created with this, that we have to be part of a community, and we need to understand that we have to serve a community, and that the community is going to help the individuals to be good human beings and good person with what is needed as to the morality and as to the character. So we need to have a balanced way of dealing between the religious, spiritual community and the individual, and respecting the individual, because this also is a danger, is that if you end up being obsessed with the community, we end up neglecting the individuals and sometimes being very judgmental about individuals.
It's interesting what you actually say about the individual and the community, and there's a balance. And within that context, what is the balance between the rights of the individual and the rights of the community on the individual, if you like?
Yes, that's very important. That's very important, and this is why, from the beginning, the fuqaha, the jurists, were, even when they were talking about God's rights towards the individual and the community and human rights towards the individual. So you are dealing with two dimensions, your relationship with God. And in this, there is something which is very important, which is the fact that you have a life, that you have things that are known only by God, that you have a privacy, that this is where you don't spy on people, and this was even said to great scholars and great leaders, that be careful, the privacy and the intimacy. This is the knowledge of God. If I'm doing something bad that you don't know, don't spy on me. Understand that the fact that you don't know, it's something which is God's knowledge and my right to be protected from the people, which is the very meaning of the sitr, which is one of the names of God. is Sattar, the one who is covering, and then we have to cover. So there is something here which has to do with my spiritual life, my private life, and then in a society, my rights. So my rights is equality, freedom of expression, the basic needs that all these things are very important. Why? Because this is where you can understand the very meaning of a community. And a community is not forget about your rights, something which was also coming from the response to the capitalist system by the communists was the individuals don't matter. No, in Islam, that's not true. It's always a balance between your private life and serving the community. And the community here should be based on this, acknowledging the rights of the individuals, and then based on something which is before only speaking about rights and duties, speaking about a very deep relationship that we need to have, which is based and coming from the spiritual dimension. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. Believers, men and women, are brothers and sisters in Islam. And not only this, as much as we can be brothers and sisters in humanity, and this is a fact, in the Quran, our brotherhood and sisterhood in and through God is asking and requires from us to be active. فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. Be active in the way you are constructing and building this brotherhood and sisterhood.
One of the things that you said within your answer was this idea that you could, if you're doing something bad, then the community does not need to, you have the right to privacy and so on. One of the potential fallouts of that is that it could breed hypocrisy, that on the one hand you're saying something else and you're doing another. On the other hand, there is a potential that with whatever bad act someone is doing, and it could be propagated, if you like, to the rest of the community, that it becomes part. So it isn't just something that happens to you, it impacts on others as well. So how does that kick in?
Yeah, I think that these are very important questions, because this is where a social dynamic should start. Now, if I'm a hypocrite, it's not for you to judge me. You don't know. You have to judge me on what you know. And this was even what the Prophet, peace be upon him, did. He knew that around him there were hypocrites, but he was not trying to look at them. He was just protecting, and this is where you have to be wise, you have to be aware of what is happening, and you judge on what you see. So there are two things here. وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا. Don't spy on one another. And then حُسْنُ الظَّنِّ, the best opinion, intention that you have to think about your brothers and sisters, about it, say, I don't know what you are doing, but حُسْنُ الظَّنِّ means that I'm not going to be suspicious and to suspect you of everything. So you need here to have a positive attitude towards the potential discrepancies and contradictions you can see in people. And this, we are all dealing with our own contradictions. Which means here that the other face, or the other side of the coin here, it's as much as it's very difficult to prevent ourselves from hypocrisy, we should prevent ourselves from judgment. El-Ukhuwa, the brotherhood and sisterhood, means be careful not to be too quick to judge the people. And this is why we have in the Quran, عَلَيْكَ الْبَلَاغُ. You have to spread the word, you have to spread the message. وَعَلَيْنَا الْحِسَابِ. And God is saying, we are judging. You are not the judge of the people. So we have to be very cautious with this. On the other side, what is important in the second part of your question when it comes to the community, this is where we need to understand that it's a very active process to build a community and to come together and to come with this understanding, avoiding judgment, dealing with hypocrites the way we can by protecting ourselves but not trying to find something which is behind, and understanding that as long as God is protecting you, the call for you is not to carry on what you are doing. Sincerity is to reform yourself, is not to think that it's only the people who are seeing you. Al-ihsan, the highest level of faith is what? أن تعبد الله كأنك ترى, that you worship God as if you are seeing Him. فإن لم تكن ترى, if you are not seeing Him, He sees you. He is seeing. So this is where there is a call for your own responsibility here, and not just thinking about what the people think of me. So we have to serve the community, but we should not be dependent on the community in a spiritual way. And that's very important, which is very much misunderstood by the Muslims today, is that they serve the community and they depend on the judgment of the community. No, the community is just judging you with what they see, not what is known by him and by yourself.
There are other points that I do want to go on to, but we do like to keep this show as interactive as possible and really value your opinion. Here is what you sent us this week.
This week we asked, how can Muslim communities motivate individuals towards success? Zahida from Tanzania said, I think this is already happening as our communities are mostly religious-based, and by encouraging Islamic values, individuals do become better people. Hamid from Spain said, there's a strong need to dilute some of our cultural practices, which are not only outdated, but pull us behind. We need good leaders to help shape the values of the communities that would then reflect on individuals. And Salman from the USA said, the major challenge we have in our communities is lack of good and strong leaderships. Good leaders know how to motivate community members towards great achievements.
We should just work together, forget about, we all have a, faith is for something within. You can't force that upon anyone. The same way, I think people should just give everyone freedom to practice what they wish and how they wish. In my religion teaches me the first person that you'll be accountable is yourself. So you can change the world, but you can't. The first person that needs to change is yourself. So I would encourage people to just let them be themselves.
Well, success, obviously, you need to define what success is. And success brings us back to the first question, and that is success in the eyes of Allah, the Creator, God. Whatever pleases Allah, we should try and achieve that and try implement that to other communities as well, and to share what we know with them. Whether they want to listen or not, we'll just do our best, but we try and do our best, and we try to do good and be good. Ameen.
That's all the comments we have for this week. If you'd like to have your views featured in the show, be sure to follow us on Facebook or join us on Twitter. Now you can send your own videos with your comments and even your questions to islamandlife@presstv.com.
Can communities make or influence their members towards some change for the better of the community?
Yes, of course. It's a two-way process. It's not just, that the community is going to serve. We have a very important verse in the Quran which is quoted and had been quoted by so many, scholars through our history and centuries, is إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. God is not going to change a community as long as they are not changing the individuals what is in themselves. So meaning the positive dynamic that you have within a community is going to come from the individuals. And this is something which is very important. You want to change your society, start with your own self. Islah nafsak, so reform yourself and then reform your community. But at the same time, when you are in a community, and you can see this in many places around the world, when you have within the community a very positive dynamic, brothers and sisters working together, for example, around the mosque, we're talking about the mosque as the central place where, for example, it's a place where you feel good when you go, you feel welcome. The imam or the people who are working in the mosque are serving. Everything is done for the sake of God and serving humanity. Add to this that they are educating the people. If, for example, in very specific places in the West, but also in Muslim majority countries, by the way, you have institutions teaching and all this. This has an impact. It's just a positive, and we can see in our history that when, in a very specific period of time, what we are the golden ages. The golden ages was a virtuous circle of people educating other people, and producing great minds. So we need to understand this, and this is what we should expect from our Muslim communities in the West, is to try to find at the local level, because we need to work at the local level, a positive dynamic that is going to impact on individuals, knowing that the individuals, through what they are doing for themselves and for the community, are also going to improve the state within a specific community.
One of the things that, from the clip that was played, was the idea that the center, which is the masjid, is a religious center, but there is also a cultural kind of center too, in some ways. To what extent, and keeping that comment in mind that was made, to what extent do you think that the community centers serve the daily needs of the individual, or certainly some of the needs?
Yes, I think it's not, this chemistry between, the religious principles that you may have and the cultural environment is not an easy one. So this is why, we always have to say something to Muslims, because it's as if I don't really feel good, it means that I'm more a Muslim. It's more Islamic. That's completely wrong. The two main principles that we have, and I was dealing with this when we were dealing, with al-maqasid, so the objectives, the highest objective of Islam is rules, yes, al-ahkam, but also al-masalih, the public interest. And the public interest, this means what exactly? Feeling good, that you should feel good where you are. So we need community. When you enter into the community, you're not entering into a world where you feel judged or you feel targeted by the Muslims and asking you about your dress, about this, about that, because this is not a community, this is a tribunal. We need a community. A community is that I feel that you are my brother, I feel that you are my sister, I feel your love before feeling you or knowing your judgment, or feeling that you are judging me. That means that love and brotherhood and friendship and serving the people, it's about what? It's about feeling good. You need to feel good. So, الإطمئنان ليطمئن قلبي, this is what Ibrahim was saying to God, is that I need to have my heart being tranquil, being at peace with your answer. This is the highest level. And then there is something which is feeling good with my brothers and sisters and with humanity. How are you going to do this? Not by saying by people, follow the Islamic principles and be against the cultural environment. We need to get it right. How can I find a cultural environment which is not against the Islamic principles? Or how can I use the Islamic principles to help me to find and to create and to be creative in producing a cultural environment in order to feel good? It means, for example, when it comes to arts, when it comes to literature, when it comes to everything, take the language of the country. Take the language, because this is where I'm going to feel good. So if my community is producing beauty, aesthetics, literature, in the language I feel, because the language is not only words, it's a feeling, it's a culture, then I'm going to get it right. This is positive.
I want to move on slightly to this idea that, to what extent, you talked about the makeup of the community and described some of the characteristics, if you like, of the Muslim community. Some of the things people listening to this would say, well, this could easily be something that is a part and parcel of any community structure. So what makes a Muslim community distinct from any other community?
Yes, that's a good question, because many things that we are saying are universal. We can find them everywhere. Now, from an Islamic perspective, there are three things that are essential in the way we deal with the sense of community. The first is what we have been talking about. A community should protect the individual, and the individual should be serving the community. So there is here a balance between I'm on my own, but I'm here to serve, which also means that you have to avoid individualism, and you have to avoid arrogance. You have to be humble. The best among you is the best for his community or her community or humanity. So we have something here which is a relationship which is a balance. Not everything to the community and not everything for the individuals. This is one. The second is that when we are talking about the way we look at the community, it's a spiritual community. And the spiritual community is, we have a common goal and we have shared principles and shared duties. What is the common goal? At the end, it's our salvation. So the collective salvation is going to be the salvation of the individuals, and we are talking about individual salvation. But this is where it's a spiritual community based on ethical shared background or shared reference. That's also something which is very important from an Islamic perspective, that we are here creating something which is about love, yes, about solidarity, yes, but it's also about ethics, it's about values, it's about the objectives. Who are you serving, and who are you going to serve? Are you just serving humanity and forgetting God? Or are you serving God, which means serving humanity? So this is a sense which is also very important, the spiritual dimension of it, requiring that every one of us, when he or she is part of a community, should start with him or herself. Don't forget yourself for the community. And the last, which is the most important one, is that for us, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ. And this is why we made you a community of the middle path, in order for you to bear witness to the truth before humanity. You have a mission. It's just not protecting yourself. We are not a community for ourselves. We are a community with a mission which is serving humanity. So that's something which is important. We are not thinking in closed doors. We are here to bear witness to our message before humanity. So there is a mission here that we need to understand. So it's the individual is serving the community, but our spiritual community should serve humanity, not by converting the people, not by imposing our values, but by serving in the name of our shared values: justice, equality, dignity, freedom, all these values that we are caring about. So I think it's very important to understand that in itself, by definition, our community, it's not a closed community. It's not a community that is looking at itself in an arrogant way. We cannot and never can just say, I'm a Muslim, so I'm the best, and the Muslim community is the best. So, we are very, very critical towards the chosen people. And we come to the Quran and say, كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. So say, you are the best community. And you say, you promote what is right, you promote what is right, you resist what is bad, and you believe in God. But in fact, the very translation of this verse is inasmuch as. It's conditional. You are the best community if you promote the right, resist the bad, and believe in God. So there is a condition here that we are not chosen per se out of our blood or out of our faith, out of our actions. So this is the sense of a mission.
Talking about becoming better communities and so on, how does the community can it and will it make someone, the individual, a better Muslim? Is that something that can, to what extent can that happen?
Yes, of course, it's a collective decision. And this is the starting point. We have collectively to think about how we're going to improve a human being. It's his character, his behavior. So first is what? We collectively decide that we have to provide our children with the best education. It's a collective. Education is not only the family. Of course, it's the family, but it's a community. So what are we going to teach in school? What are we going to give to our children in the mosque? The way we teach our religion today in many mosques, and the way we teach Arabic and other languages, that's wrong. In fact, we are not serving them. We are imposing very bad teachings and very bad methodologies. I think we have to think about this. So the way we have, it's about education, it's about culture. It's also two things that are so important that we are not talking about enough. The first is anything which has to do with sports. You want me to feel good? Sports. And then arts and beauty. All these are dimensions that has to do with the well-being, and this is where we can improve the individuals.
Thank you for the communal setup that often has its focal point within a community centre or masjid is dependent on the individuals to make it have a strong influential role. How that influence is used depends on the relevance that centre has for the needs of the individual and the way that it can distill the religion from the culture of a different place in a way that will make it possible for it to be applied to the current context. Arguably, for communities to have influence in making someone a better individual, the individual must respect the community. That's all the time we have today. I would like to thank Professor Tariq Ramadan for joining us, and I thank you all for watching. Until next time, goodbye.